Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles, and I welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we got an interesting episode for you guys that you definitely want to stick around for. But before we get into it, make sure you go ahead and hit the subscribe button because we're trying to get to 50,000 subscribers by the end of this year. So make sure you go ahead and do that and help us hit our target. We'd really appreciate that. Anyway, let me get into this topic here. Now, I know a lot of people say, oh, you guys do videos, you don't go to criticize. Today we're going to be talking about some solutions. But before we get into solutions, we need to actually discuss what the heck is really going on here. So recently we did some videos addressing some of the challenges that the Lakers have been having this season, and there have been plenty, right? There have been plenty of challenges. I'm sure the majority of you guys are already abreast of what those challenges are. We recently came off a game, or they recently came off a game, a nail biter against the Chicago Bulls. I saw that game yesterday against the Chicago Bulls late last night. And I actually saw the majority of that game, believe it or not. And it seemed to me like in the second quarter of that game, it looked like the Lakers were beginning to find something. It looked like they were beginning to find their defensive edge. They started to click offensively, and they started looking good. Even the commentators who were calling the game, I think I was listening to the commentators of the Chicago Bulls. They were like, listen, you don't want to get into a situation in which this Laker team starts to get their confidence back, and then they start to play really well because they have a lot of firepower in that roster. If you're looking at Carmelo Anthony, who chipped in, I think, 20-plus points. You have Isaiah Thomas now, who's there. You have LeBron James, of course, and, of course, you have Russell Westbrook. So at a certain point in that game, and I think towards the second quarter, the Lakers looked like as if they had found something. Going into the second half of the game, they were pretty much playing the Chicago Bulls pretty evenly, right? They were playing in them, but ultimately, DeMar DeRozan was just too much for them in the second half, where he scored a game-high 38 points, and he basically, put the Lakers to bed and handed them their 15th loss on the season. So after that loss, I started to ask myself the question last night, and the question was, is it time for the Lakers to start making some changes, right? That was the first thought that kind of came to my mind. Why is that? Because usually in a situation like this, when you have a team that's, such a marquee team and a big name team like this, you immediately, when you try to think of ways to kind of remedy some of the challenges that they're having, you think, okay, what do we need to change? Who do we need to do? What do we need to do? What do we need to do? Right? And I realized I was asking myself the wrong question. Instead, what I really needed to sit down and understand is what are actually, because I was looking at the problems, but I was looking at the symptoms, but I wasn't really looking at the root problem. Why is this team performing the way that they do, the way that they are? Because most people are going to suggest, okay, well, if we need to fix this, most people have been suggesting rather that the coach is going to be the fall guy, right? He's going to be the one that's going to lose his job. But the only problem is last night, what's his name? Frank Vogel didn't coach. I think it was David Fizdale that coached the team, and they still lost. You're going to blame that on the coach? He wasn't there, right? So this thing about blaming it on the coach, I just think is people are just trying to grasping for straws, and they're like, okay, well, what do we do? Oh, change the coach, right? Because we need to dump the blame on somebody, but it's not the coach, and I don't see how a new coach or getting a new coach is somehow all of a sudden going to improve some of the challenges that they're having, because this team, guys, to be honest with you, this team is having a lot of challenges. So what I decided to do was really sit back and really kind of do some research on some of this team stats and really try to understand what are the real problems this Laker team is facing. And I discovered some startling information that I want to get into. And today we want to give you guys an analysis, not a bunch of nonsense, because usually, most likely, what you're going to hear today is a bunch of superficial analysis. Oh, they're not good. Nobody's playing this is the problem. Nobody's really going to sit down and really break things down. So that's what we want to do in this video. So let's get into the root cause of what's happening with this team right here. Now, here's the reality about the Lakers at this present moment. They are a middle of the pack team when it comes to three-point shooting. They're ranked number 12th in the NBA. That's middle of the pack, right? They're not the best, but they're not the best and not the worst. They're just in the middle. Fine. However, they're still the number 2 team in turnovers in the NBA. They're averaging 16.1 turnovers behind who? The Houston Rockets, who just basically filled with a bunch of rookies and young players, right? On the Lakers, you have a bunch of experienced veterans, and they're the number 2 team in turnovers. That's the first problem. The second problem is this. They are the number 11th, they're the number 11th ranked defensive team in the NBA. When they won their championship in 2020, they were the number 1 or number 2 ranked defense in the NBA. They've dropped all the way down to number 11. However, the most startling stat of all of them, and it's one of the reasons we put the word startling in the video, in the title, is that the Lakers, I want you guys to think about this for a second. The Lakers are scoring 110.5 points per game, but they're giving up 111.13. Let me repeat that. They're scoring 110.5 points per game, but they're giving up 111.13. That is a startling statistic. It basically means, on average, for the entirety of the season, they are being outscored by the teams that they're playing on average. Regardless if those teams are good or bad, that is the average. That is a startling stat. That is an alarming stat. The only teams that are giving up more points per game than the Lakers, think about this, are the Orlando Magic, the Houston Rockets, the Sacramento Kings, and the Charlotte Hornets. Those are the only teams in the entire NBA that are giving up more PPG than this team. That is the number one reason this team is bad. Has nothing to do with Frank Vogel or whatever they're saying. That is the number one reason. If you want to understand what the problem is, there you have it. They simply do not and cannot play defense whatsoever. For you to be giving up more points than you're scoring per game, it is, I mean, it's beyond me. And I just discovered this stat just now. I never heard, nobody even mentioned this. I never heard anyone on the media mention this stat before. This is the reason that they're so bad. If you combine the fact that they have a team that does not play defense and they're number 2 in turnovers, it is a recipe, guys, for total disaster. Because not only can you not stop guys, you're giving them more opportunities to score on you. That's the problem. In a nutshell, that is the problem, and there's no offense that can fix that. You need to fix the defense. So now people must be wondering, okay, so what's your solution? All you've been giving us is problems. What's your solution? I think the Lakers have 3 options. They have 3 options. Number 1, they can either trade away Russell Westbrook and Anthony Davis to get a solid 2-way player like a Paul George or somebody like this. Did you just say trade away Russell Westbrook? Yeah, that's exactly what the hell I said. Did y'all just say trade away Anthony Davis? That is exactly what I said. Anthony Davis has been a part of this team and they're playing terribly, and he's been a part of that terrible defense. He's an amazing 2-way player. He ain't playing defense. Russell Westbrook, I have no words for him. You either trade away Russell Westbrook and Anthony Davis and get somebody that can actually play, can score and play defense. That's number 1. Option number two, you trade away Russell Westbrook for Damian Lillard, and you totally abandon the notion that you're going to be playing defense, and you just try to outscore your opponents. That's the number 2 option. You get somebody that can just hit you up on any given night for 40 or 50 points, and you say, you know what? At this point, it doesn't look like we're going to be able to play defense. Let's just go get Dame, who's a much better scorer and shooter than Russell Westbrook, and let's just ride it out with him. That's option number 2. And option number 3 is trade away Westbrook and get a bunch of Westbrook or AD, whatever one you want, and get a bunch of young athletic wings that can play defense and knock down open shots. Those are your 3 options. Firing the coach is for formalities. That's all it is. It ain't gonna change anything. Those are the 3 options that the Lakers have right now. Some people say, well, what about LeBron? Who are you going to trade LeBron to? LeBron is 37 years old. Who wants him? Nobody wants LeBron James. I don't care. He's not going to make a difference. You say, well, how do you know that? Because he's not making a difference here. If he's not making a difference on this team, what makes you think he's going to make a difference on another team? He's not going to make a difference, right? And he's going to suck up too much air in the room because he's too much of a big personality. LeBron is not going to be a role player on some teams, so you can't trade LeBron. LeBron is most likely going to retire with the Lakers, right? I would do that and then go back to the traditional 1-2 punch of LeBron James. Of LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and get some reliable wing players that can play defense and knock down some open shots. The Russell Westbrook thing, and it's not working. It's not working. I think these are their only options at this point. Period. End of story. I'm not going to put lipstick on it for you guys. I'm not going to put any makeup on it. This is what the raw data is. The problem is not coaching. The problem is they have a poorly constructed roster. No one is going to mention Rob Pelinka. I'm going to mention him again. He is the general manager. Rob Pelinka should be held responsible for this, and LeBron James should be held responsible. But those are the 2 culprits. Since LeBron came to the Lakers, they've traded away all their young athletes. You saw the game against the Chicago Bulls. Lonzo Ball used to be a Laker, if y'all remember. He used to be a Laker. So LeBron brought them in. They said, listen, we're going to trade away some of our young future stars. We're going to go all in on Anthony Davis. We're going to go all in on Russell Westbrook. Essentially, for two players, they've lost all of their youth. They lost Lonzo Ball. They lost Julius Randle. They lost Alex Caruso. They lost Montrezl Harrell. They lost Kyle Kuzma for two players. And these two players did not pay dividend. So to me, it's actually astonishing how bad of a defensive team that they are. And something has to change. Nothing don't change. Folks, what you see right here is what is going to be. Nothing new is going to happen. At this point, at a certain point, teams are starting to become who they are. Now, some teams are in unique situations where they're missing key players, like maybe the Clippers, who are kind of playing without Paul George and Kawhi. Of course, you have the Golden State Warriors, who are without Klay Thompson. You have the Denver Nuggets, who are without Jamal Murray. You have the Brooklyn Nets, who are without Kyrie Irving. There's some exceptions out there, but what you see right here is what you get, is what it is. They need to do something now. It is that serious. For them to be giving up more points per game than they're scoring, it is alarming. Somebody needs to be ringing the alarm bell, and that's what I think. So what I want to know from you guys, what do you think about my solutions? What do you think about that stat I just gave you? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Once again, it's just Charles here from Dreamerspro, wishing you guys an amazing day and catch you guys on the next episode.